In today's show, the latest Damian Lillard drama, Matisse Thybulle's coming back, and Summer League predictions is a jam-packed Friday episode. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. You are listening to Friday, July 7th episode. We got a jam-packed one for you, the Royal Week, because it's just me riding solo today. Blazers we'll talk latest Dame drama. Blazers are going to hopefully sit down, or I'm sure they will, sit down with the Heat when both front offices get to Las Vegas. It's Summer League. The whole NBA's in Vegas this weekend. Stuff can get done when folks are in the same room, same building, same state, same city, same hotel, conference room, whatever it might be. We'll talk about the latest Damian Lillard drama. Some of it you already know if you're listening to the show. Matisse Thybulle's coming back along with Ibu Baji and John Butler Jr. as the Blazers continue to fill out the next iteration of this roster, and then we're going to close the show with some Summer League predictions. We're going to have a little bit of fun. It's Friday, but we got to start with the biggest news. You know, yesterday I took a break from the Dame stuff because I feel like this, I've recorded an episode of this podcast for 12 consecutive days. This is day 12. I am the Cal Ripken of bite-sized audio video media pertaining to the Portland Trailblazers. And your boy Cal has of those 12 episodes, 11 of them have been heavy Damian Lillard trade stuff. So I tried to give you a break yesterday, knowing that we might come back to it. And guess what? We back! The latest reporting comes from a variety of sources, and I'm going to lay it out for you. But some of it you might have already heard. That's why you should be an everyday listener to this podcast. Shout out to my everydayers. Okay, the latest from Adrian Wojnarowski, who wrote a story on ESPN this morning, says that Aaron Goodwin, Damian Lillard's agent, has been calling prospective trade partners, I'm quoting here from Woj's article, and warning against trading for his client. According to team executives told ESPN, Goodwin is telling organizations outside of the Miami Heat that trading for Lillard is trading for an unhappy player. Listen, you would have known this if you listened to Wednesday's episode. This is why you should listen every day. I said that I had heard from a league source that the Damian Lillard's agents, and Aaron Goodwin specifically, were orchestrating the trade. This is how it happens. This is how it happens in the league. I'm not looking for credit from Adrian Wojnarowski. I'm literally telling you, dear listener, listen to the show regularly. Make it part of your daily routine because you will already know this even before Woj reports it. So basically, Woj's story lays out that the Blazers they're going to be slow because they don't want a bad deal. And that's always been the thing with the Blazers. I think the Miami Heat's deal is a little bit underwhelming. I think in general, the market for Dame is going to be underwhelming in part because of his Aaron Goodwin telling teams, suppressing the market naturally. This happens across the league. This is normal. I mentioned this even without reporting, that I assumed that you could just call the Utah Jazz and say, don't trade for Dame, and you could exercise some force to kind of have them at least dial back their offer. He doesn't want to be here. We're not going to offer all of our assets type of thing. But it doesn't mean that no teams will call, and Woj reports that. It just means that Aaron Goodwin is doing right by his client to some extent, right? I think this is... I think this can feel yucky if you're a Blazers fan, and I think it's totally fine to be like, gross, why? But that's why you have a big, powerful agent and you make millions and millions of dollars. So they'll do your bidding. So they'll steer you where you want to go. So Woj's story kind of lays out the Blazers are being patient. The deal, for Miami isn't ideal, but there might not be other ideal trade offers out there. So, Portland just kind of has to weigh their options. And I quote again here from Woj: Portland doesn't want guard Tyler Hero and the 4 years, $120 million owed to him on his contract extension. And this is the big part. This is what, to me, this is the actual meaningful reporting from Woj that you couldn't already have learned on Locked On Blazers earlier this week. But, quote again, I'm quoting here again, there are teams that have told ESPN they would surrender a, quote, good first-round pick to the Blazers, maybe something more, to become a facilitator by taking on Hero in a three-way deal. I mean, there it is. If the Blazers can find a good, quote, good first-round pick and maybe something more for Tyler Hero, and they get two first-round picks and potentially 3 if they can really squeeze Miami, because I think the Blazers have some leverage to say, put all of your assets in there. Miami unprotects or changes the protections on a pick to that they owe to OKC. Miami sends 2024 unprotected pick. That pick's going to be like 26, but whatever. The 2024 pick, a 2028 pick, a 2030 pick, all 3 of them unprotected. You get Nikola Jovic, you get Jaime Jaquez, and you reroute Tyler Hero to another team that's giving you a quote good first round pick and something more. This is the package the Blazers want. 4 firsts, 2 young players. I don't know that this is like obviously this isn't like the Rudy Gobert haul, and this isn't the Kevin Durant haul, but this is the trading for a 33-year-old player on a big old contract who is forcing his way in one spot. This is what the best version of a Miami Heat deal looks like. And frankly, again, something I reported earlier this week, the speculation is that it's going to be Miami eventually. So part of the eventuality is getting the most. If you can reroute Tyler Hero to a third team, as Woj suggests here, for a, quote, good first-round pick, go ahead and do it. And I think this gets done, August 1st or whatever, when Jaime Jaquez is available to be traded. There's a little bit more reporting. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald reported that he spoke with Aaron Goodwin on the record, and Goodwin told Jackson the following: I do what I should for my client. Some teams I did call, other teams have called me. It's a respectful relationship with most teams. Truthfully, he wants to play in Miami, period. There you go, on the record. Miami or bust. Dame can't say this. I think that's an important thing to note here. That's straight up tampering. Like, he would get in trouble from the league, but his agent going on, if you're going to do this, I think it is better than sources say, and sources say this, like assuming that the source is Aaron Goodwin. I think it's good for him to go ahead and go on the record. My client wants to play in Miami, period. Let me get the quote exactly right. Truthfully, he wants to play in Miami, period. Period. So we're kind of at the same spot we've been, but with a little more details. And Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian also spoke with Aaron Goodwin, and Fentress got the following quote from Goodwin. I had a positive conversation with Joe, and I made it clear that Damian would want them to sit down and have a meaningful negotiation with Miami, and I think that's something that Joe and the Blazers will do. The whole league's going to be in Vegas this weekend. Side note, real quick. If you're ever considering going to Vegas for Summer League, go early. Get there the night before. So the games start Friday. Get there Thursday afternoon. If you fly from Portland, you'll probably fly with the dang team. They because of the way it works, they have to fly commercial. So get that good flight out of Portland, middle of the afternoon. You'll fly with the team. It's a bizarre thing to see giant people ride in a commercial airplane with you when there's like 15 of them. But then the whole league is there. The whole league, not just like Ibu Baji and John Butler Jr. and whoever it might be, Joel Minaya or whomever the back half of the Blazers Summer League roster is. But it's like everybody's front office, everybody's analytics department, the whole bunch of media members who you probably don't care about because we're not important people. But like the whole league is there. Go early, go that first night, see the entire league, walk through Vegas and see it. It's a whole bunch of fun. But because the whole league is there, that was my side note. Because the whole league is there, stuff gets done. Like you can get in the same room and you can just like have those conversations. You don't have to talk through proxies. You don't have to both talk to Aaron Goodwin on separate phone calls and get it done. You can sit down in the room and say, are you going to unprotect those picks, that pick that you owe to OKC so you can trade us 3 picks? Cool. Who have you found a place, or has Aaron Goodwin on behalf of Miami Heat found a place for Tyler Hero to be traded? And will that team give up a good first? What does that good first look like? Okay, will you also take Yusuf Nurkic if we take back Duncan Robinson? You just hash it out right there. You can have the conversations and get it done. These I say on the show all the time, a stolen phrase, but like deadline spur actions. This isn't a deadline. This is like, there is an uncomfortable truth that if the Blazers have to go into training camp with Dame in tow after all of this mess, that it's just going to stink for everybody and stink for you Blazers fans out there too. Like that, it's just, no one wants this to drag on. At some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. It seems like it's inevitably going to be Miami. And I think the good news is that if there is real interest in Tyler Hero, a good basketball player to be sure, but like has no value in Portland, and I don't think his particular type of player, like a guy who struggles a little bit on defense and scores a bunch, doesn't have a bunch of trade value, ask the Blazers about trading Anthony Simons. They'll tell you the same thing. They're very similar players. But if you can get a, quote, good first and maybe something more for Tyler Hero, you are getting the bones of a good deal. Another thing I mentioned in yesterday's show, maybe two days ago, was to watch if the Blazers or if the Heat finalize some deals. They did finalize that Victor Oladipo deal, so the dream of expanding it to a multi-team trade with OKC, that one's probably, it'll be a separate deal, not including Oladipo's salary. Thanks for those of you who emailed me with your third eyes open, but we will move on to whatever's next. That's your latest Dame drama. Thanks for sticking with 10 more minutes of Dame drama. I got to be honest, y'all. I do not plan to do one over the weekend. This is a Monday through Friday show. We do it on the weekdays unless big news drops. If big news drops, I'll hit the microphone. I love the game, and I'll do it for you. But I do think we will have to talk about this Dame stuff again soon. So thanks for sticking with me for 10 minutes. Let's talk about anything else now, including Matisse Thybulle back in Portland. The Blazers have matched his contract offer from the Dallas Mavericks, or offer sheet from the Dallas Mavericks, and he is coming back. So that's what we will talk about in the second segment, and some other minor moves from the Blazers as well that were announced today. Join me in that second segment, but first I want to tell you that this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, there's a lot of ways to get therapy, pursue therapy, but BetterHelp is one of the most convenient and one of the most inexpensive. And therapy can be super helpful, whether you're dealing with decisions about your career, relationships, or anything else. Therapy can help you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate your life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. You can trust yourself to make decisions that align with your values. Therapy can help you get in touch with the sort of core part of yourself that wants to make sure that you are living the way you want to live, and you don't get lost in the hubbub of everyday life, because life's hard. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. Switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Matisse Thybulle's coming back. The Blazers are starting to get the sort of outline of what their roster in the next era is starting to come together. Matisse Thybulle was a restricted free agent. He received an offer sheet from the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years, $33 million, and the Mavs made sure to put all the bells and whistles on that thing to make it a little bit harder for the Blazers to bring back Matisse. It contains a 15% trade kicker, a player option on year 3, and it stipulates that 50% of his annual salary each year must be paid by October 1st. The Mavericks had previously agreed to a sign and trade to acquire Grant Williams from the Boston Celtics. Because of that trade, they didn't have the full mid-level to offer any longer. They only had up to about $9 million in year one starting salary. So they built to get up to the first apron. You can't go over that for the mid-level exception. That's how much money they had to build out this contract using the tools that they had. So what they did was build the most unappealing contract for another team to match. Player option, so you only get 2 guaranteed years, and then he can opt out, hit free agency. There's some value in having it to be just 2 instead of 3. The money due up front. So if you have ownership that doesn't want to pay up front and wants to pay incrementally, and you're every 2 weeks direct deposit like a typical NBA, typical NBA salary, then maybe they balk at that. And the trade kicker, which means that if Matisse Thybulle is traded, he gets a bonus that counts against his salary and counts against Blazers cap space. So the Mavs have structured something similar like this before. Teams have structured similar like this before. The Mavs did this to get Chandler Parsons back in the day. Parsons then opted out after 2 years and signed a huge contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. Shout out to Neil O'Shea for not signing that one, although he reportedly considered it, at least for a few hours. The Blazers famously hit the lottery by not signing Chandler Parsons to a $94 million contract. Get your money. But this is relatively common in the league, this sort of bells and whistles, restricted free agent contract, like the ones to make it more onerous, because you can't, the Mavs offered the absolute most money they could, right? They said, okay, this is how much we have. this is the starting salary. This is the raises beyond that salary. It's about 3 years for $33 million. What can we do? And the Blazers said, cool, we'll match it. And I think it's the right thing to do, quite frankly. I said it on yesterday's show, and I nothing has changed in the, 22 hours since I recorded yesterday's show. Like that's the deal. It's not crazy money for Matisse. It's not super long. If the Mavs have had the full 4 years, $54 million for Matisse Thybulle, I think that's the full mid-level. That maybe would have given the Blazers some pause. It certainly would have given me some pause. It's not even my money, but I just think that's a long-term commitment, both financially and years-wise, for what Matisse Thybulle brings. I'm probably lower on him than maybe some other people in the market. I am pretty doubtful of his impact as an offensive player, although I admit he shot it really well when he played for the Trailblazers at the end of the season. But at this price, it's kind of a no-brainer. The Blazers they need players, they need wings, they need guys who can play a little bit of small forward, and Matisse can do that. He's their best defender on the roster. They'd trade a couple second-round picks to get him. If you trade second-round picks to get someone entering free agency, you want to keep them if you can. Like, that's the whole point, particularly for where the Blazers were. They were not trying to be good after the trade deadline, so it always made sense to keep Tease. He's back, and you kind of see the bones of what the Blazers are doing, right? Like the starting lineup, I would say presumptive day one starting lineup. I guess this is maybe getting a little in the weeds. Let's just do people who are on the Blazers roster that aren't Dame, because let's not start naming Heat players that are on the roster. We might have to do that at some point, but not today. But it is something akin to Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant, Nurk unless he gets traded, and then you've got off the bench some combination of the young guys, Jabari Walker, Chris Murray. I guess Keon Johnson can play a little bit. Obviously you have Shaedon Sharpe. I don't know how he skipped down the list, but you're starting to see, I believe they have 10 non-Damian Lillard players under contract right now. So you're starting to see what it looks like. They still have their mid-level to use. They're just in a holding pattern to fill out the rest of the roster. They obviously need to get bigger. They're going to add some centers and some power forwards at some point. But, I think this is a young, fun team. I don't think it'll be particularly competitive based on the roster right now, but really fun, potentially surprising. So certainly could surprise one podcaster who may regret something he said in the middle of July. But, I think you're starting to see the sort of outline of what the roster is going to look like. But they got to do the other thing to sort of get there. The other Blazers news is that Ibubaji and John Butler Jr. are back on two-way contracts. The Blazers had previously extended qualifying offers to them to make them restricted free agents. So they're both coming back on two-way deals, something that I had guessed but had no reporting about, but just guessed on a show earlier this week. They're back. I believe it had been reported somewhere, I believe it was on Hoops Hype, that Butler had signed a 3-year deal with the Blazers, but the team announced today on July 6th that that both players are back on two-way deals. There is a third two-way deal. The Blazers can use that on whoever it might be. Maybe it's on Jonathan Williams, on Nate Williams. We'll see. Maybe it's on someone else. But they signed Ryan Rupert to a full to a normal NBA deal. So he's not going to be a two-way guy. They have another two-way spot available. They got a bunch of back half of the roster spots available, maybe front half, depending on how you want to count it. They're getting there, and Matisse, he makes sense with the program. Like, if you're going to start Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, you're going to want defenders. I think Scoot has potential to be a really good defensive player in the league, and I heard an interview on Casey Holdall's podcast, A Briefcase, with Shaedon Sharpe, in which he said that Scoot's a really good defender. But he's also like a teenager, and typically teenagers do not play defense well in the NBA. So it's just a safe bet that he has more defensive potential than defensive production. So that's what it's looking like with Tease back in the fold. Summer League starts today, as you were listening to this, on Friday evening. The Blazers take on the Houston Rockets on ESPN. Asar Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr. going to be a whole bunch of fun, and you'll get to see Scoot and Shaedon in action. So let's talk Summer League predictions. I'm going to make some bold ones to close the show. Join me in that third segment, won't you? Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. It's time for some bold predictions. Summer League edition. And I had to hit the books to figure these out. In 2017, Lonzo Ball, then a rookie for the Los Angeles Lakers, had 56 assists across 6 Summer League games, setting the all-time record for Las Vegas Summer League assists per game averages. 9.2 across 6 games in the summer of 2017 for ZO2 Zo. My bold prediction is that Scoot Henderson breaks the record. 9.3 assists for Scoot Henderson. Calling it now. 9.3 assists. Breaks the record. And here is my reasoning for it. Scoot can score in the league. And Scoot's going to be asked to score in the league. And quite frankly, the modern point guard has to score in the league. If you can't score as a point guard in the NBA, you are a backup. That's how this works. If you're the lead guard, they're just you got to score. But in Summer League, Scoot doesn't need to prove he can score. What Scoot's going to show off is what an incredible facilitator he is. And playing next to Shaedon Sharpe, he's going to just feed him, and running pick and rolls with Baji, and running pick and rolls with Jabari Walker, and finding Chris Murray rolling to the rim and cutting and working the baseline. Scoot Henderson is going to show off his playmaking chops. His role is probably established. He's probably a day one starting point guard in the league for the Portland Trail Blazers based on the way things are going this summer. Obviously, stuff can change, but that's what it looks like. He doesn't need to prove it or earn a spot or anything like that. What he's going to do is show off the special skills. He's still going to have some big dunks and some plays, but he's going to average 9.3 assists, breaking Lonzo Ball's record for assists per game average, the highest assists per game average in Las Vegas Summer League history. 9.3. That's your bold prediction number 1. Second bold prediction. Join me in the not-so-way-back machine for this one. In 9 games across the 2021 summer in Vegas and the 2022 summer in Vegas, so back from the COVID break and then into actual Vegas Summer League, Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets was a bucket. Dude's still a bucket in the league. Doesn't do a lot else, but can absolutely score. And in Summer League, that was on display. In 9 games across those 2 summers, Cam Thomas averaged 27.2 points per game. 27.2 points per game. He broke a previous record held by someone familiar with you who's played at least 4 games in Summer League. Damian Lillard, back in 2012, en route to winning the co-MVP of the 2012 Summer League, Damian Lamont Ollie Lillard Sr. averaged 26.2 points per game. Shaedon Sharpe's beaten Dame's record. That's my bold prediction. Is Shaedon Sharpe going to play 4 games? I don't think so. But I know he can score. He can score in the NBA. Like, he was scoring 30 at the end of the year against NBA defenses that were at least trying to stop him. Playing against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the last 4 minutes of an NBA game for a team trying to make the playoffs, the Blazers ran high pick and rolls with Shaedon Sharpe, and he scored at will against these dudes. Drove at and past Rudy Gobert, one of the best rim protectors in the league. Now, Rudy Gobert doesn't defend well in space, and the Blazers set the pick really high, and Shaedon Sharpe used his burst. But if you're blowing past Rudy Gobert, there's nobody on the Summer League floor who's going to stop you. The last 4 minutes of a team trying to make the playoffs is higher level even in March, is higher level basketball. The game might have been in April, technically, but at the end of the season is higher level basketball than Summer League. Shaedon Sharpe's a bucket, and if they let him play, which I think they will in those first couple games, he's going to score and score easily. Shaedon Sharpe, if they let him free, is going to break Cam Thomas and going to break Damian Lillard's scoring record. He's going to average 28 points per game in Summer League. He can score from everywhere. He can score off the dribble. At the beginning of Shaedon Sharpe's career, his pull-up game was a mess. Like his feet would get all out of control. He would rush shots. He would get off balance, and he could really shoot as a catch and shoot player when his feet were ready. But he was having trouble scoring off the dribble. As he got further into the season, the whole arsenal came out in those final 10 games during the tanking era. Sharpe could score from everywhere. I have no concerns about him being a lethal bucket getter in Summer League. And based on my first prediction, Scoot's going to be setting him up, looking for him, force feeding him, because he's going to be averaging 9 assists per game. And, 3, 4, 5 of those are going to go to Shai. Shai's going to score 28 points per game. He's going to become the maybe not qualifying for my minimums that I made up to look up this stat, but he's going to play at least 2 games. He's going to score at least 56 points. Dude is an absolute bucket. 28 points per game for Shaedon Sharpe. That's my second bold prediction. And my final bold prediction to close the show, to quote my man John, JR himself, the oracle of Blazers fandom, the Blazers are going to win the championship. Let me say that again for you. The Blazers are going to win the championship. Hang the banner. The Portland Trail Blazers are going to win their third and most in league history Summer League championships this summer. A week from Monday, with Scoot Henderson holding up the trophy as the summer MVP, the Portland Trail Blazers, your summer Blazers, are going to win the Summer League championship. Right now, they are tied with the Sacramento Kings for 2. The Summer League wasn't always a tournament. It was like a glorified pickup run for a while. It's become much more serious. Only half the league went for a little while. Now everybody comes. Like I said, the whole league is there. Go early. But dating back to 2013 when it became the tournament, and they've changed the way the tournament works over the last decade. But 10 years of championships. Sacramento has 2. The Blazers have 2, and this is the year the Blazers pass their neighbors to the south and hang a third banner. They don't hang banners, but hang a third banner and win the Summer League championship behind the tutelage of Summer League head coach Jonah Herskew and behind the excellence of the young guard tandem of the future, Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, and then Scoot Henderson and whoever else when they start holding Shaedon out the second half of Summer League. The Blazers are going to win the championship. And you know why they're going to win the championship? Because you deserve it. You deserve some joy this summer. It's been a tough summer to be a Blazers fan. It's been a tough 2 weeks to be a Blazers fan. I was joking earlier that I'm the Cal Ripken of Blazers audio video content because I've recorded 12 straight podcasts. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm doing this because I want to be here. I mean, I'm getting paid a little money. This is a job, okay? I'm here doing it. If you're here listening, and you've been here listening for 12 straight episodes as I've been churning these out, you deserve some joy in your life. You deserve some joy. My everydayers deserve some joy. So that's why the Blazers are going to win the championship. Scoot's going to go nuts. Shaedon Sharpe's going to go nuts. And you're going to have fun because you're going to have 10 days in the desert to watch on TV, or maybe attend if you're lucky enough to really appreciate folks who wear Blazers on their jerseys. The other stuff's going to happen around you, but hopefully you can find some joy with the Blazers at Summer League. Okay, assuming nothing big happens, I'll be back Monday for more shows. We do this Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, the only daily Trailblazers podcast. If something big happens, however you're listening to this, I will be back there yapping. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about this podcast. I'll talk to you soon.